Hey guys, so in this video I am going to be showing you, kind of running through an example of how you would create your calendar for your assignment. I'm going to create kind of one day's worth of events so you can kind of see how I would do that, and then I'm going to show you an example or a couple examples of kind of what a calendar could look like and what kind of the expectation for your calendars is going to be. So let's say I'm building my calendar and I'm going to start with my morning, okay? I'm going to click here because I'm going to say, okay, I get up at 6 a.m. So I'm going to set my beginning of the day. So I'm going to say, this is my wake, shower, breakfast, morning routine, right? Okay. So I'm going to add that. And I'm going to say that goes through 7:30. Let's say would be a typical workday in the example of if we were still working at school, right, instead of on COVID-19 lockdown. So I'm going to do that. That's my morning routine in the morning, and then I've got to leave for work around 7:30. So I'm going to move this down here. So that goes through 7:30, and then I've got work. So I go to work, and my work takes me through. What time does lunch start at school regularly? 1:15, right? So I'm going to have my work, and then I'm going to add my lunchtime in. Lunchtime goes from 1:15. Oh, whoops. I don't know why I'm putting that in there. Lunchtime goes from 1:15 to 1:45. So I got my lunchtime in, and now I've got my next block of work, which is 1:45 through 4:30 actually is what it is, through 4:30, and then so that's school time. In fact, actually, I'll change this. This is going to be school. Right? And then this one's also going to be school. Okay. And then normally on most days, I do work. So like we'll say work prep or grading or whatever I might put in there. And that normally goes from 4:30 to 5:30. And then I have my commute home in essence. So it takes me about 15 minutes. So maybe I'll drag this to 5:45. That's normally when I would get home. And then I've got dinner and giving the baby a bath and putting her to sleep. And that normally runs from about 5:45, and I'm usually done with that whole process by 7:15, 7:30. I always go to 7:30. And then I have my evening free time, which is free time, exercise, work. A lot of times I finish up doing work in the evening. And so I'm going to save that. That usually runs till about 9. I try to start getting ready for bed at 9. So then I'm just going to say, but that's basically what I do. So I kind of get ready for bed at 9. So there you go. That's an example of how quickly you could build out your schedule for a day. And using the tricks that I showed you in the other videos, you could create duplicated ones, right? So for example, if I click on edit this, every weekday, I have the same morning routine, for example, right? So I'm going to say Monday through Friday. So I don't have to go every single day and recreate this. I can actually go in and just create a repeating event on that. So I could do that for all the rest of these if I wanted. Now, I would know that Wednesday, our school schedule is different, so my Wednesday schedule is going to look a little different, right? But I could essentially create the same schedule if it's, pretty close on these other 4 days. Another thing I can do, if you right-click on here, I'll show you that you can change the color. So you can color code your events depending on what it is, right? So here's what I'll do. I'll say, okay, these are the things that I do for myself at home. I wake up, I shower, do breakfast, and then This is the same sort of event, so this one's going to be yellow. And maybe I'll say my lunch and my free time are going to be green, because that's like open time or time that I don't have to be doing something specific, right? And let's say, because VT's purple, my school times are going to be purple. And my work prep is going to also be purple because I'm working on school stuff. All right. So I'm going to give you an example, a couple of examples now of what you could do if you want to get really hyper specific, and then also kind of what I'm more expecting from you guys to be able to create for your calendar. So I'm going to move to the next week, and I'm going to leave this example. I'm going to take this example calendar off. And I'm going to give you another example calendar. So this is an example of a very, very specific calendar. So this calendar is actually pretty reflective of what my normal schedule was like before we went into quarantine mode here and aren't going to school on campus. But this actually gives you a hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute breakdown of what my schedule would have been like. So you can see, so on Monday, right? Waking, coffee, do my personal work in the morning before 6:30 a.m. Then I've got these other deals on here. So if I click on this, I feed the cat, take care of it, make my wife coffee, pick up the house, and that happens between 6:30 and 6:50. Then I have my shower, get ready for work, got to be out the door by 7:30. I've got my commute, which I give myself 15 minutes for. A lot of times it doesn't take that long because I live close to school. I've got my team meeting or prep every single morning from 7:40, 7:50-ish to 8:30 when class starts. And then you'll see I've got all the blocks for school marked out in here, including advisory. I've got lunch marked off, blocks, electives. I've even got driveline release time marked as a separate 15-minute block in here. And then my extra work after school. 4 days a week. You'll notice that on Wednesday I have that time open specifically. Right? And then when I get home, I got dinner, I got to prep lunch and clean up. I got to, give the baby a bath and go to sleep. And then most evenings I've got about an hour and a half of free time, hopefully, if I don't have any work to do. So then you'll even see on this more, very hyper specific one, I even put in what my sleep hours were, right? Try to get into bed by 9, try to sleep for at least 7.5 hours. So typically my rule of thumb is try to stay in bed for at least 7 hours, but no longer than 8. So then you'll see even with my weekend, right? I got my Sunday morning routine with church, and then my wife and I have a weekly budget meeting for our household, and then you'll see I've got lunch and free time on Sundays. A lot of times there may be work that has to get done in there, but it's not specifically structured. So you'll see that, and then I usually, kind of have an hour of, get ready for the week and whatnot, put the trash out and stuff usually happens there, and then sleep again on Sunday. And then typical Saturday, if I don't have anything planned, I'll just say, okay, well, if I get up around 6, then I've got the whole day open, is basically what that indicates. So this is a really detailed example of what you could do if you really want to take this assignment really seriously. But I'll give you an example more what I'm looking for from you guys. And what I'm looking for from you guys is something more like example 2 here. You see how, this can be deleted. You see how this is basically just a breakdown of like, oh, this is my personal work, wake, shower, breakfast, whatever, okay? You could even put this all into one chunk on your calendar, right? It's more when you have a specific thing at a specific time it needs to be added on, right? So my work day when we were in school would have looked like, here's my work chunk, 7:45 to 1:15 p.m. I have my lunch break then. And the reason why I have this separated is because lunch break really for us teachers is actually free time. We're technically not working. We're allowed to leave campus. We're allowed to go take care of personal business. It's our time, so I put that in as free time. Then we have class after lunch. And then I've just broken all that stuff that I have, my commute, all that stuff, whatever. That's all just in these items here, okay? So, and you'll see I've reflected the same thing on the weekend. I just have all that open time on Saturday. You guys could put that as free time, open time, video game time if you have a specific time on a particular day that you like to or you want to do video games or watching whatever reality TV show you're into these days. you want to put that in at a specific time. Now, you're not required to put in, like when I showed you that other calendar, you're not required to put in, your sleep hours. I did that kind of more as an extreme example. But on example 2 here, you'll see this is more what I'm looking for on this assignment. One really cool thing that I do want to show you guys is that what's really cool about Google Calendars is that you can actually layer calendars on top of each other to compare calendars. So for example, if I do my example calendar, my other one, my complicated one, you can actually see how calendars line up on top of each other. So if you wanted to know when somebody was free, for example, you could take your calendar and then check their calendar if they've shared it with you. And you could see, when do I have free time that they have free time? Let's set a meeting for this time, for example, right? So if I wanted to set a meeting with my other calendar, I could see, hey, we both have free time in this 2 to 7:30 period. I should definitely make a period then, or an event then, right? So anyway, this is an example. And again, look at example 2, and I will be sharing these calendars with you for reference. But look at example 2. This is what I'm looking for from you guys. Now, remember that it stipulates in the written assignment that you need to have a certain number of events every day that you have set for specific times. It is okay to say this is my open time for free time or whatever, but that doesn't count as an individual event for your 3 events that have to be scheduled. And I want to also remind you guys that there's 3 options for doing this. You can do an event, you can do a calendar for 1 week where you reflect what your schedule normally is and what you expect it to be. It can be a calendar of how you wish or you would like to spend your next week to structure your calendar. It doesn't necessarily have to reflect how you always structure your calendar. If you'd like to be more structured and have a good calendar or set things for certain times you normally don't really think about, then you can do that as well. You can also do a made-up calendar. You can do a calendar that shows all the things you'd be doing with your week and how you'd set your schedule if you weren't in quarantine, and you could go and do anything you wanted to. So you have all 3 of those options. Please pick one of those options. Don't mix them together. But I will request that if you do create a fantasy calendar where you go visit people in Thailand or whatever it is that you would be doing if you weren't in quarantine, then I'd like for you to also add a description so that I can see it and kind of see how creative you're being with it. Again, there's going to be a video on how to share your calendars with me. You are only sharing it with me. You're only sharing the ability to look at the actual details of your calendar with me. If you want to make it available to everyone in the VT system, then that's fine. But I'm going to put up a video that's going to show you how to share the details of your calendar only with me. So you don't have to share it with everyone in the class. All right.